So some of you folks may remember this 1965 Impala of mine. We tried to get it ready for Miles of Mayhem, swapped the 6-cylinder a big block, and we ran out of time. We left it in its current state. So I've decided it's about that time to get back into this thing and continue on the swap. So the story with this 1965 Impala, I got it in BC about 5 years ago, just outside of Nelson. Found it in a barn. My good buddy Scott actually found it. And I bought it for $2,300. It needed some new fenders, so I got these fenders for it, these OEM ones from Impala in Thunder Bay, Ontario. And the 6-cylinder burnt a lot of oil, but I got it running and it needed new brakes, and we did the brakes. So we got into it, and randomly, I came across a 454 for this thing, and I was like, well, why don't we 454 4-speed swap it? So yeah, that's the car. Some of you might remember it. The rest of you who are new to the channel, that's what we're doing. Can I build a 1965 big block powered muscle car with a 4-speed for under $6,000 in 2024? Can I? Let's find the fuck out. But before we do, someone needs attention. We can't just rip into that big block without giving Duke a little love. We're training a real shop up here. He's got to be enthusiastic about being in here. Go ahead. So for those of you who haven't caught the recent video I posted, this is our new dog, Duke. He is a Welsh Corgi, but he's in the ever so rare black, white, and brown color scheme. He's a tri-coat Corgi. Probably one of the most pretentious animals I've ever owned. He's also got a lot of personality. But yeah, he's the new dog. He's out here on the ranch, keeping check on things. I says pardon. Moving the 65 up closer to the garage, so when the snowstorm comes, I can still easily access it if I want to get in that engine bay and start prepping things for the engine swap. The legendary 454 boat anchor. But some of us wouldn't see it that way, would we? Some of us see it as a vintage piece of automotive history and a cheap thrill. This one, you might remember it. I bought it to go on Miles of Mayhem. I bought it for my 65 Impala because it was originally a 6-cylinder, 3-speed manual car. So I got this out of Billy Thomas's scrapyard down the road for a solid $800 or $900. And I wasn't able to make Miles of Mayhem because I didn't have the proper parts like the oil pan and all that, blah, blah. I ended up taking that 87 third gen Camaro on Miles of Mayhem 2 years, or not this last one, but the one before. Some of you have been waiting for an update on this thing. And I've started to collect parts for it, going to swap meets and stuff. I found a set of vintage big block headers for it. All right, so we are taking a break off the car. We're in Red Deer at the Westerner Center, the Red Deer swap meet with Garrett Ottman here. And we're hunting for big block parts today. Let's go see what we can find. Look at the paddle tires, what's going on? Yeah, we're gonna score some deals today, I think. Oh, buddy. This is just one of the rooms at the trade show. 2 huge rooms like this, just full of parts. This one specifically has cars. Like this 55 Chevy, the small block, and a 671 blower. Look at this bad boy. 2-door post. An old Bel Air. I have one of these cars, but it's a 4-door with a 305 and a 2-speed iron glide. That's in pretty good shape. It's a complete Bel Air, but it's not as nice as this one. Got a 671 blower, small block, 2 Holley carbs on it. And yeah, so we're gonna tour around. I've already found a bunch of good parts. And now I'm looking for a, what am I looking for? A timing cover? And I'm looking for a few things for the transmission, bell housing, clutch, flywheel. And we're gonna tour around. We're gonna find some stuff. I've already found valve covers, and I've found blow-off valve for the Coyote swap. Found all sorts of shit. Let's keep touring. So as I said, with this 65 build, it's all about buying used stuff, meeting people along the way, trading stories, getting things for cheap, budget build car, right? And so far, we're doing freaking good. The 833 4-speed for a Chrysler, rebuilt. Dude, man, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, all the vintage parts. All the vintage parts. And trouble lights. Look at the shit we scored today.
Hell yeah, brother.
We scored some shit today, boy. Got an 11-inch bell housing, floor mats for the Beetle, shifter for the Cobra Coyote swap build, wires for the 454, distributor, Northern Exposure, the complete 3rd season, big block valve covers, lowering coils for Garrett's Camaro, fuel pump for the big block, lines, and a bunch of other shit. Pulleys. Successful day at the Red Deer Trade Show.
Oh, I'd say so.
Oh, yeah? I found some nice TIG welded aluminum valve covers. Holley 650 double pumper off my old Mustang. Found an Edelbrock Torquer 2 intake, but that might not work because I'm pretty sure that's square port. I haven't looked in a while, but that square port, these are peanut port. So I probably have to get a different intake. But, you know, found a fuel pump and all that stuff. Got a bunch of stuff on the bench here. I found a Muncie 4-speed for it. It needs a 3rd gear replacement, but my friend Richard off the island sold me this for a really good price. Thank you, Richard. Found a pressure plate for it and all that. But basically all these go fast, pretty parts to make an old motorhome engine sing a song of absolute freedom. This engine came out of a 1976 Itasca motorhome. Had 50,000 kilometers on it, but as we know, motorhome mileage is like dog years. So 50,000 in a motorhome is more like, I don't know, 300,000 on a car, 250,000 on a car. So it looked pretty clean. The oil looked good in it, and the cylinders look okay from the underside from what I could see. But under further inspection, it has one really, really bad valve guide and valve stem seal. As you can tell by the gunk buildup in the oil passage there. Look at this. That would not survive a pop test. So I've decided before I start painting this thing up and printing it up, as you can see, I got a little carried away there. I just wanted to see what the orange would look like on it. I was sick of looking at the blue. But yeah, started dressing it up. I'm like, well, we should probably take some time and make sure this thing is good so I can actually enjoy that 65 Impala when I get it going. So these heads are coming off, and they're going to go down to the mill and shop, and they're going to get milled while they're off. I mean, might as well. I'll put a straight edge on them and check them anyways, but I'm going to take them down and just get them fresh mill on them. Who cares? Here's the thing. I'm going to pull these heads off, check everything out on it, and do a valve lap and job and all that, and, you know, put it back together. Check the cam lobes, see how that looks and all that, but it's coming apart. You know, hopefully I can leave the rotating assembly in it. We got to check the cylinder walls and all that, but yeah. I truly love this stuff, the old vintage big blocks and small blocks. I mean, I got carried away over the years doing the LS stuff and, you know, all the Mustang stuff and all that crap, but not crap. I love that shit. But the thing is, my roots started with a small block Chevy, and I always wanted a big block, and I always thought these were like the coolest things. My brain, my mindset, my spirit, my aura. It's trapped in the 1960s. I love this shit. Like I said, a lot of people would see this as a boat anchor. I see it as a cheap thrill and fun torque on a budget, you know, and I've always wanted to build a 60s muscle car. Oh, by the way, how do you guys like my new shop setup? Got a TV mounted on the wall and an Xbox. We're watching Uncle Tony's garage right now. He's working on a big block. Yeah, this lights strung up through the whole place, and, you know, got this guitar here with all the games on it. It's like a CD holder, neon light. Got Uncle Revan Airsman's hat there. Boom. Yeah, she setup feels a lot more like a home shop, like an established place. You know, really liking it. All right, first order of business. Pull all these rocker arms off. Make sure the rocker arms are loose. Take all these rocker arms off. Lay them all out. That intake valve is pressed right now, so I'm going to have to relieve some pressure off that cam lobe before I crack these nuts. How do we do the loose ones first? Wouldn't that make more sense? All right, so I've got all these loosened. I'm going to remove them all. Front of the engine. Try to put them back where they belong. Duke, did you just steal the nut? You little bugger. Duke just stole the retaining nut off my rocker arm. No. I told you, these guys, they got personality. Lay these all out nicely. You don't really got to go back where you took them, but for the rocker arms, I like to try to anyways. I mean, it really doesn't matter. Get this intake out of my way. Oh yeah, this is that Muncie 4-speed I picked up. Original M21. I found a shifter at the swap meet for it. An old T-handle off my buddy's Camaro I got when I was a kid. That's kind of cool. But yeah, this we'll open this later, and I'll show you what's wrong with this thing and what parts I need to order for it. All right, so before we go any farther and take these cylinder heads off, we're going to do a quick leak down test. It's added cheap to security to see, you know, if there's any bypass in the rings or not. And right now, while the valves are up, we don't got to worry about barring the engine by hand every time. Pull the spark plugs out. What's left of them anyways. Duke's just waiting for one of these to fall on the ground, eh? What can I get into? We certainly make sure that everything around here is cleaned up so he doesn't get into it, because dogs love to, especially puppies, they love to get into all these little liquids and nuts and bolts, especially him. All right, so with all the spark plugs removed, I'm going to begin this leak down test by threading this hose end in. Whitney brought up some breakfast. Thanks, Whit. He just tried to eat a nut off my rocker arm. Hi, Belle.
I've seen him do worse.
You seen him do worse? He did not. The nut dropped off the engine, then he tried to steal it.
I thought you meant like one of his own nuts.
No, they don't have those yet. This will be added cheap security or insurance to know whether or not those rings actually have any sealing, because Like I said, this is a budget build at the end of the day. Turn that pressure up to set. Walk in and see what happens. It's a pretty good leak down, don't it? And this engine's been sitting for years though, so that's coming through the intake there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yes, Daddy.
I give the valves a little shock with a rubber mallet, maybe able to break some of that rust off and see what happens here. Hold on. It's a little trick I learned in Vietnam. Oh! Barely smoking out of there. Test the other cylinders. So we got a lot of leak down here. 90%, right? Little hammer on the intake side. Because the valve's sitting, we'll just build a bunch of crud on them. They won't seat into the valve seat. On the intake side, it comes right up. Look at that. It's done this on every cylinder so far. Usually it comes up into the green, but you can hear it just hissing out of here, eh? You can feel it come out of the intake there. And you're not going to hurt it giving a little tap with the rubber mallet. Time to bust out the heavy infantry. Jesus, that's a weak compressor. Oh, the old electric. Yeah, I need to upgrade my shit to Milwaukee. Shut up. Friggin' liberals must over-tighten the head bolts when they assembled this thing. You know, it's highly likely these cylinder heads have been off before, okay? You can tell because of the way that it is, okay? Actually, you know what a good old trick is? Leave 2 head bolts in it, so when you do break it free, it doesn't fly off and destroy the cylinder on the ground or break your toes. More likely break your toes before it breaks the cylinder head, but you get what I'm saying. She's free. Holy liberal. Anybody would have cleared a spot on the workbench. There's that valve. Oh god, them cylinders don't look too bad. Oh, that one's a little greasy. That one's real greasy. Oh yeah, they're gouged. God damn, let's pull that other cylinder head off. Oh, those water jackets, look at them. Just packed with rust. That's concerning. We're still gonna fucking run it though. That cylinder. What does it look like in there? Oh buddy. Oh buddy. He's just mucky. I already know this thing's got to come apart further. I don't know what the hell that's all about, but I'm gonna guess it had a failed head gasket. Oh yeah, look at that. I was just gonna put it in and run it. That's hilarious. It's been sitting a while for the blown head gasket then. Look at the cylinder wall in here. I can catch my fingernails in there, so it's coming apart for a honing job. Might as well flip it over, pull the oil pan off, get the pump off it. And what do you guys think of that rust in the water jacket? Would you run it? Let me know in the comments section below. I'm trying to pull these lifters out before I flip the engine over. And they end up on the ground. I just want to work them out, eh? Look at that. They don't look to be in too bad a shape. But who knows, maybe go with an aftermarket set of rollers and do a cam in it. Listen to me, eh? I've been talking about doing a budget build at the same time as I'm talking about doing roller lifters. Yeah, okay, buddy. Wow. All right, let's flip this engine over. That timing chain has more flex in it than my ex-boyfriend. We used to attend Pilates classes together. That timing chain is fire. I've never seen a chain this stretched either. It's ready to hop off the gear. Well, pull it off, pull the cam out, and pull the bottom end apart. It's got one of them quiet rings on it. The ring's not in bad shape. It's a little worn on the edges, but not really. 50,000 original kilometers. I mean, you can see it there. But that chain stretched farther than my ex-boyfriend used to in Pilates classes. I'm just missing him. Get out of here, you little liberal. What are you doing, commie? That is a pretentious animal. Zoom in on it. Hit that 2.5. Look at that. That is a pretentious creature. I'm a Welsh Corgi Trico. I'm the ever so rare Pokemon. I like a catch, I like a Pikachu. Bet them camshaft bearings aren't too bad. Oh, ow. Now they're screwed. Careful, big boy. Come on, you son of a bitch. Come on now. Hoss gobbles. That's a threatening hoss. God bless. God damn. There's some bitch. Oh, god damn. Got that goddamn big block all apart. Alright, camshafts out. I'll take a peek at these bearings in here. Put the camera up right here. Those look bad to you? They don't look all burnt and marred. Yeah, I'm saying this engine really did have 50,000 K on it. I looked at the motorhome's odometer. And the seats told me it didn't really roll over that once. If it did, this seemed to be in a lot worse of condition. But, you know, just seeing some of these bores, like for the lifter bores, they're in really good shape. The lifters themselves are in awesome condition. They're in really nice shape. They came out super easy. So this engine definitely had 50,000 K on it. But, you know, certain areas like the timing chain, motorhome years are like goddamn dog years. They just go by a little faster. Let's flip this thing over and pull the crank and rods and pistons out of it. All right, first piston. Take it all apart by hand so it don't shock anything. See that piston over here. Look at that. All right, working on piston 2. Right. What do you guys think of that? All right, all the pistons and rods are out. It spins really nice and freely, doesn't it? All right, let's remove all these main caps, pull the crank out. A little on each one, so I can distribute the release of the crank across the plane here. Number 1, get these crank bearings. A little bit of a nail catching in there. That one's really gouged in there. Look at that. Right there. That's really bad. It's a couple little tappings, never hurt a girl. That one's grooved right on the inside as well. Fingernail catcher. That one has some heat scoring on it. Oh, right like that, eh? Holy hell, Jacob. It's about time for refreshing. We caught her just in time. We should be able to lift this crank out of here. Oh, I missed one. Jesus. There's so many of them. Holy fucking cripey jiminy. That's a son of a bitch heavy crank, yeah. All right, let's take a peek in the engine here. What do you guys think of that right there? Definitely deckered. Needs new bearings and all that kind of stuff, but... So I've got the engine all cleaned up and I've got a solid game plan, which I'll explain in a moment here. I still have to hone the cylinders and clean out the water jackets, but, you know, she's looking pretty good. She's a very salvageable 454 big block from the mid-1970s. Let's go check out that rotating assembly and I'll explain what my plan with this thing is. So these are the pistons, rods, heads, main caps, you know, valve train and all that out of that big block. Here's the crankshaft down here. Everything's in really good shape. I just have to replace the crank bearings. I'm going to replace all the rod bearings, probably replace the wrist pins and the piston rings while I'm in there. Cylinder heads come apart, valves get lapped, replace some valve guides in it, get them milled, so those have to go to the machine shop pretty soon. So the game plan is to get this thing all freshened up and in the car before spring so we can drive the thing this summer, because man, I've been waiting years to drive this car and I can't wait. But with all that being said about the engine, let's go talk about that Muncie 4-speed that I have here. I'm going to tear apart this Muncie 4-speed to see what it needs and get some parts on order. You're going to tag along to see how one of these is disassembled. The first thing we're going to start with here is tearing off the side cover of it. Alright, so I pulled the reverse shift fork out. fish this whole assembly out on the side of the transmission. Lost a blocker ring there. All right, now I'll pull the input shaft off the front. Retainer comes off first. Remove this snap ring off the inside here. Using my little pick to guide it off. Like that. Push that reverse idler gear out of there. Also lost the retainer for reverse. Now before I move this input shaft, I'm going to push the pin out for the counter shaft. Being gentle with it. Support the counter shaft. I'll move that the rest of the way. Counter shaft is dropped, allowing us to sneak our input shaft out the side here. Here's the blocker ring from the input shaft. Here's a quick little breakdown of how these blocker rings work. That slider hub is where your fork's on from that case back there I was showing you. So what happens when you shift your transmission is these little blocker rings engage at the hub of the gear. So say you're going from third to fourth, when you pull your shifter back to fourth, push that slider hub ahead and it'll put this blocker ring onto this cone, which acts like a clutch, and it's spinning really fast. And it spins and it grabs and it locks like that. See, I can't push it past that point because they're binding. Basically like a clutch is a cone. So it grabs on there and it lines up these little rings, these little teeth with these, and allows the teeth inside of this blocker ring to mesh with the gear itself. It allows the gear itself to lose its momentum, slow it right down like this. Then it synchronizes the gear to the next gear with all these little teeth. Pretty cool, eh? This looks like it's in really good shape. Won't be replacing that. All right, now you pull your counter shaft out, lift it straight up, and out. Get a couple little washers on the end of it. This one went on this end. Your handy dandy magnet out. That goes on this end. Got all them needle bearings. Oh, that's gear teeth. Wow. God, look at all that. What is this piece? It's another shim. All right, so the next step, we'll have to organize these parts, is going to be separating the mid plate here and then disassembling the whole main shaft and all the gears. I dropped a bunch of these little needle bearings down into the transmission case. I had to fish them all out with a magnet. So now I'm shifting through the carnage of broken gear pieces and shards of metal to make sure I got every single one of them. So I got to do a head count on every single needle bearing. And look at this. The ones in just the counter shaft alone, look how many there is. Oh my God. Look at that big piece of third gear. I'm guessing someone did a real hard launch in this thing. If you look at the counter shaft, the thrust washer for the counter shaft, it's all chewed to shit, eh? So the counter shaft would have back and forth play when they would have shock loaded it and launched it. The mesh wouldn't have got right and it would have just sheared the gears right off it, eh? Like, look at that. That's the gear off the counter shaft. Sheared right off. Third gear here is the same. Sheared all the teeth off of it. So yeah, that's what happens when your transmission isn't shimmed up properly. Dynamite's a hell of a lot easier. Ridiculous. God, look at all that. Unreal. Absolute carnage. My goodness. The discoloration of that oil, just metal components in it. Wow. A little more organized and accounted for here. Unfortunately, my battery died and I got a little carried away with disassembling, and it was, oh man. Either way, all the needle bearings are here and accounted for. That was a tedious process getting all those cleaned up and figured out. Same with the inside of the casing. Needs a little machine work down there where the counter shaft goes. Where we left off in the video before my camera battery died was I was disassembling the main case, counter shaft and all that. But anyways, all I've done since is remove the tail housing from the mid plate and pulled apart all these needle bearings and everything. Yeah, a lot of tedious process. But so the next step is to bust out the bearing separators, take this thing over to the press and break down this main shaft. Go through it all and see what needs replacing and what doesn't. I mean, overall, the transmission seems to be in really good condition other than that counter shaft, that third gear. Everything else is in really good condition. Oh, the case, like I was showing you earlier, probably needs some machine work down there. But other than that, pretty much cheap rebuild. You know, do it all in-house here. Just like the engine, doing everything in-house. Got to disassemble those head sill, lap the valves. There's something about a bench full of organized big block and 4-speed parts that just gets a guy right excited, eh? That looks great. I kind of want to leave it like that for a bit, eh? Looks like I'm actually doing something. Anyways, I don't have the proper bearing separators that I need in order to put this thing in the press and actually disassemble the main shaft. So we're gonna leave that for another video, and then I'm gonna get all this stuff apart, get it down to the machine shop, and get moving on all that stuff. I got another engine over here that we'll be doing soon on the channel, so keep an eye out for this one. This is a 12-valve Cummins I picked up off my friend Joe. So believe it or not, this 12-valve Cummins is going into my 1979 Ford E250. Let's go check that out quick. So this is the van that 12-valve Cummins is going into, 7940 Econoline E250 Super Van. I have the Cummins and a NV 4500 5-speed I'm putting in this. Then I have an MP 241 transfer case to put in. It's converted to 4-wheel drive because it's 2-wheel drive right now. But yeah, this is my old gem of a camper van that I restored many years ago. And I'm getting sick of the 460 big block, so we're putting a Cummins in it. So the reason I bring this up is because that's another project series I'm launching on the channel, I guess. Something to look out for. It'd be a fun little swap. Got that Honda VTEC swap going on right now. Check that video out. I have this big block Impala 4-speed, and I'm going to be ripping into that 12-valve Cummins there. And we'll be disassembling that here on the channel. So that'll be interesting to see how one of these come apart. But with all that being said, that's where I'm going to wrap up this video. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you here on Tire Roaster's Garage when I drop another video. I'm trying to do weekly. It's tough to keep up, but I'm trying to do it. I'm going to do it, okay? You guys love the videos. I love you guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting the channel. Hit me up over my Patreon if you want to support me further. And catch you in the next episode here on Tire Roaster's Garage.